Chris Gelser here with
Matt Howell.
And on this episode of The First Run, Matt, it's going to be a dad movie fest. We're going to discuss first up Matt Damon and Christian Bale in Ford v Ferrari. Then Vince Gilligan returns and brings us the coda to his classic series Breaking Bad with El Camino. You're finally going to find out, Matt, what happened to Jesse after the show ended. We're going to tell you what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD, featuring your straight-to-DVD and streaming picks of the week. We're going to discuss the last episode of Shudder's Creepshow relaunch. And then finally, unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, I have to cut out. So Matt is going to share with you our 2019 gift guide, which I'm also going to, Matt, I'm going to need, I don't know if you did this appropriately, because you're supposed to give us prices and then where to get this stuff.
Okay.
I don't know if you remembered all that, because I know you're more of a feel it out kind of guy, fly by your pants, and just see, hopefully everything comes together kind of person.
Right.
What I want to do is list links to everything in the show notes as well.
Okay.
So
right.
When you get around to it within the next 24 hours, send me links.
Man, I didn't know there would be homework for this.
You'd think you'd know by now. All right, let's start everything off, though, with a clip from Ford v Ferrari.
You can't just push the car hard the whole way, right?
That's right. You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you. If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is. Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes. Every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it?
I think so.
Most people can't. Most people don't even know it's out there, but it is. It's there.
Matt, they've been trying to make this film for years. Originally,
Really?
Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt were set to star in it. Did you know that?
I did not know that, no.
Well, now you know, and knowing's
I
half the battle. So, Matt, Ford v Ferrari, is it a thrill ride or just a satisfying Sunday drive through the mountains, through the parks, whatever? So, tell us what the movie's all about, and then answer this burning question that's on everybody's minds.
All right, so it's the mid-'60s. Ferrari has been dominating the race scene for years. Ford decides to up their game, and they hire Carroll Shelby, who is a famous car designer. He designed the Shelby Cobra, and you can still get Mustangs badged with Shelby Cobra symbols. Decides to design a car for Ford to beat Ferrari, and he enlists the help of Christian Bale for working together to beat Ferrari at their own game, especially culminating in the 24-hour Le Mans race in France.
I think it's pronounced Le Mans.
Le Mans. Le Mans.
Le Mans. Freedom fries. So, Matt, answer the GD question. Is Ford v Ferrari a thrill ride? Are we talking Grand Theft Auto come to life? Like, what's the most popular racing game out there?
I don't know. Forza Motorsports?
Pole position it is. Or is it a slow Sunday drive through the countryside?
I don't think it's really either of those things. I think it splits the middle. I don't think it's necessarily... Well, it's certainly not Grand Theft Auto. It's not that level of mayhem and wackiness. But it's certainly not a Sunday drive. I mean, even though it has a long run time, I was completely invested in this thing from the get-go. I was actually surprisingly looking forward to this after watching the trailers, and I was saying to myself, this looks like it's going to be pretty fun. And you know what? I wasn't really disappointed. You know, you're really invested in the whole story. The kind of intrigue of it is surprisingly has you on the edge of your seat, even though a cursory glance knows how this is all going to turn out. And the racing scenes are fantastic. I mean, obviously, I was pleasantly surprised by this, or at least I shouldn't say pleasantly surprised. I should say I was glad to have my gut feeling confirmed.
I think that's fair. I would consider this kind of top shelf dad-tainment, right? I mean, this thing is built for what guys in their 30s and 40s and 50s, right? I really think this is right in our wheelhouse. Now I have a dog, so I consider myself a dog dad. So I don't know if that counts.
Right. A fur baby.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
I agree with your assessment. I don't think it's a thrill ride per se. No, don't get me wrong. The race scenes are indeed thrilling. In fact, I got to see this in Dolby, Matt, and this film just kind of roars to life in that. There's got some thrilling race sequences and some really just fantastic sound design. I mean, when those engines roar and stuff, it is, it rattles in that theater, and it really works well. But that's not enough to deliver an engaging film. Look at the Fast and Furious franchise, right?
Right.
And I think what this film does exceptionally well is that it gives you a nice heaping helping of real human drama, and it works. Bale and Damon are particularly strong and deliver some truly authentic and lived in, felt very real, authentic performances in this thing. Both of our characters are larger than life and yet feel very human at the same time. Carroll Shelby is a legend. And well, so is Ken Miles. And I really was hoping to get a guest on this show this week. An old dear friend of mine is a huge Shelby fan. He actually has a converted, I don't know if converted is the right word, but Dodge Omni that Carroll Shelby designed and autographed. Okay. He may have actually since sold it, but when I met him, he was driving this thing. And it's incredible to see a Dodge Omni. If you're not familiar, these old hatchbacks that look like basically boxes. Okay. And they have it had a roll cage inside it.
Okay.
Which is crazy. And which is interesting. There's a reason the roll cages actually came into use because of an event that happens in this film. But still, it is a really fun entertainment. It may feel, for me, Matt, a bit cliched at times in its structure. Right, we have adversity, there's moments, overcoming, loss, triumph. There's the wrench scene, right? I mean, we are in some ways checking off those kind of dramatic boxes.
Right.
But there's a bunch in here that I think elevates this film above your standard fare. You have an exceptionally strong ensemble cast. Along with Damon and Bale, you have Barenthal, who, I don't know if it's his character, he's played as Eli Iacocca, or if it's Barenthal himself, or it's just a costume designer. Clearly does not know how to tie a tie. And it was frustrating to me the entire time. You have Katerina Balfe, who plays Miles' wife, who is from, I think is it Showtime? The show Outlander? Maybe it's Starz? I don't know.
Maybe. I've never seen it.
Josh Lucas is in this, right? Tracy Leffs. So it's filled with a bunch of those, oh yeah, that guy's good actors in this thing. So it's got a very strong cast. And it's really a fun film with some really great drama, and it's just exceptionally entertaining.
Yeah, but I think you're right. It's exceptionally entertaining, but in that kind of safe, predictable way. This is not a film that's going to set the world on fire. It's going to be one of those films that's like, if you catch it on a Sunday afternoon, it'll be like, oh yeah, I'll watch that while it's still going on. But it's not something I think that you're gonna seek out. I mean, once you've seen it, I think it's not going to be something that it's going to have legs and it's going to, have a life, deep into the years from now. I think it's just it's a fun diversion.
It's exceptionally well crafted. It's very well done, confidently done. This is James Mangold. I think this is his best film.
Yeah.
And that includes The Wolverine, which I know you're a big fan of. But 310, I don't mean as a slight. You like The Wolverine a lot. I thought it was good, but you were a big fan of I'm sorry, Logan.
Logan.
I'm talking about Logan.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Logan.
He did do The Wolverine as well. The 310, the Yuma remake, Walk the Line, Identity, Girl Interrupted, Copland,
right?
Night and Day, which is an abysmal film.
Yeah.
But this is his best work, and he's been steadily improving, I think, really. So, I don't know. I rather enjoyed this thing. A couple minor things, too. I already pointed out the Barenthal. It's nice to see John Barenthal show up in a movie and actually have some lines and not be dead, which was good. I also love that Ford, the second here, has this big opening speech where he walks out on the production line and basically tells everybody you're fired if you don't come up with an idea. Very kind of Glengarry Glen Ross-esque, right? And but he blames the workers for the downturn in sales, which is clearly, it's not their fault at all. So I kind of feel, part of me is kind of like, F you, boss. Maybe you had some people who knew what they were doing instead of blaming the guy who's working the line.
Yeah.
Solidarity. Anyway, I rather enjoyed this thing. It kind of has that kind of Shawshank Field of Dreams. When I talk about dad-tainment, we have another film coming up, I think is kind of in the similar vein. And it's good. I ended up giving Ford v Ferrari Matt a B+. It runs for 2.5 hours, but I tell you, it races by. Yes!
Wow. So you end the review of the dad film with a dad joke. Good for you. Well, you SOB because I gave it a B+ as well. I was hoping to get that out before you said it, but unfortunately no. And here we are.
Well, there you go. I ended up being the McLaren to your Ken Miles. So congratulations. You've had a chance to see Ford v Ferrari playing everywhere now. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I can't speak for Matt, but I would be curious to hear what you think. Coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday, Matt, November 26th. Well, there is a re-release coming out that I'm really going back and forth on because they already they did a new transfer back in 2013, I think, and I picked up the Blu-ray then. They used the same transfer for this release, but Arrow Video has dropped an insane amount of new, really cool extras, and we'll talk about what all those are when we get back.
Why, you gotta be some kind of great cop. Come in here all by yourself. Where's your partner? Where's your partner?
Well, guys, the other one was upstairs. She was sweet. I took her out.
I bet that really pisses you off. You probably don't think I'm a very nice guy, do you?
Buddy, I think you're slime.
See, I got this problem. Cops don't like me, so I don't like cops.
Clarence Boddicker, Matt, is not the nicest guy you're ever going to meet.
No. Red Foreman.
He'll always be Clarence to me. I never watched that 70s show, so.
Oh.
Arrow is releasing a brand new release on RoboCop. They're using the same 4K transfer from 2013. Now, the big difference here is you get the director's cut, which is included in that release that I already own. You get in the second disc a director's cut, the theatrical cut. There's new commission artwork by Paul Schipper, 6 collectible postcards in the limited edition, a double-sided fold-out poster, reversible sleeve featuring the original and newly commissioned artwork, a limited edition collector's booklet featuring new writing. There's a ton of stuff on this thing, right? There's also a steelbook that they've released as well, with all the same features except without this limited edition contents. It includes new commentary by film historian Bill Salmon, new commentary by fans Chris Griffith, Gary Smart, and Eastwood Allen. I don't know why we didn't get a call for this. A newly filmed conversation between the co-writer Ed Neumeyer and the filmmakers David Burke and Nick McCarthy. Truth of Character, a newly filmed interview with Nancy Allen. I could talk about this for 10 minutes, Matt. There is so much stuff on this thing. Paul Verhoeven Easter egg, 4 deleted scenes, director's cut production footage, the raw dailies, a ton of stuff. 2 isolated score tracks in the theatrical cut, an edited for TV version of the film featuring alternate dubs, takes, and edits of several scenes, which would be kind of fun to watch because they take out all the profanity and everything, right? This is an exceptionally profane movie at times. A split-screen comparison of the theatrical direct. I mean, there is a ton of stuff on here, Matt. But I don't know what to do. Now, it's currently available on Amazon for $28, which I think is pretty good for that special edition. But I'm thinking, I bought this on VHS. I bought this on DVD. I bought it on Blu-ray. Then I bought it again on Blu-ray when the new transfer came out. All right? I own the Criterion DVD just because more as a collector's item because that was originally the only way to get the unrated director's cut version.
Right.
I want to wait for 4K, an actual 4K release, which you know is going to happen with PS5 coming out next year. And they've announced they're going to have that 4K optical drive in there. That's what saved but elevated Blu-ray was the introduction of the Blu-ray drive in the PS4. That's
Right.
why the
Well,
HD
PS3.
DVD. I'm sorry, no, was it PS3? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
the PS3.
Yeah.
And that's what killed HD DVD. And
Right.
I'm thinking that with the PS5, that's what's going to happen again, and the 4Ks are going to explode.
Right.
So do I buy this because of all the features, Matt, or do I hold out for that 4K, which likely will not have all of these special features?
I would hold out for the 4K because I think if you really want to catch the special features, you could probably find them in other places. And you've got a lot of special features and all the stuff that you have from, the various editions you have.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that TV version, though, which I think would be hilarious to watch. The isolated score tracks, I don't know if that's in the Criterion set. If it's anywhere, it would be on that. Man, I'm still on the fence. I mean, how many times can you buy one movie? I think the movie I've bought the most of is The Evil Dead. I bought The Evil Dead back on DVD when I didn't even own a DVD player. It was the first thing I ever bought. Is there one film that you've bought a bunch of different versions of? Format?
No, there really isn't. I'm not. I mean,
Not even Star Wars?
Well, no. I mean, I have it. I'm probably going to pick up the Blu-rays, although, I don't know how long I have to wait for the 4Ks to come out of the whole thing. Yeah, I don't think so. Not to the extent that you have. I don't mean that as a diss, but that's just the facts. Not to the extent that you have. There are some that I should upgrade. I just haven't. I'm not as huge. This may be one of the many things that should get me kicked out of the Cinephile Club, and should probably get me kicked off the show. But not huge into special features. Like, I'm not gonna watch them over and over and over again, so it's not as critical for me.
I've started to come to that revelation or realization myself, as I am in mid twilight of my life, the midpoint of the twilight of my life. Right? I am now staring down like, well, how many of these things am I ever actually going to watch?
Right.
And that's really slowed down my purchasing of movies.
Yeah, it really has. It's nice to have it. If you're going to have a, huge TV with all the fancy stuff, and of course, within another 2 years, it'll be 8K instead of 4K. You like to have those kind of images to get it. But as far as having to watch the TV cut, I'd do it one time, maybe for a goof, and that would be it.
Yeah. I think I'm done upgrading too.
Yeah.
You're
not going to go past 8K?
I'm topped at 4.
4? I heard that 8K is like literally like your human eye cannot go any higher than that. So like that's really the max it's going to be able ever to get to.
I just don't know how much more clarification or clarity of picture that I need. I had the Dolby Atmos receiver already, the sound system for it. So how much better do I need to get? And then you start losing that filmic quality.
Well, we said that about Blu-ray too, didn't we?
Yeah, I guess. But I was also younger and dumber.
So I don't know if we're any smarter. We're just getting more frugal in our old age. It's like, do I really need that? The answer is no, I don't really need that.
Right.
And, I can find better things to spend that, $2,000 on.
Fair enough. So one film that's also coming out, Matt, which I think was just out in the theaters a month ago, is Don't Let Go, which is one where the man's family, after a man's family dies what appears to be a murder, he gets a phone call from one of the dead, his niece. He's not sure if she's a ghost or if he's going mad. It's kind of like that Frequency kind of remake in a way. Like, the thing was just out. Speaking of which, Angel Has Fallen, the fourth film in the Somebody Has Fallen franchise. Mike Banning has been winding down since the London attacks, Matt, but now something happens and he's a one man and something. Includes a 3-part audio commentary with the director Rick Romanois and 6 other featurettes. I guess it's a pretty successful series. I've seen the first one when it was the something falling down. It came out at the same time as the Channing Tatum, Jamie Foxx one, right? White House Down, which was
you were. Similar. It was Olympus Has Fallen.
That's it,
right? Yeah.
Yep. So this series is just rolling along. I wonder if it's like Fast and Furious, where they get better and more ridiculous as they go.
Maybe. I haven't seen a single one of them, so maybe. That only bears to reason with Gerard Butler as the main draw here.
Fair point. Where'd You Go, Bernadette? The latest film from Richard Linklater is being released, featuring Cate Blanchett. Amazing Grace, a documentary about Aretha Franklin with her choir at the New Bethel Baptist Church, the performance in Watts, L.A. in January 1972. Gary Oldman stars in Mary. A family looking to start a charter boat business buys a ship that holds terrifying secrets once out in isolated waters. MST3K, The Gauntlet, Season 12? Is it 12? Is being released, which is a truncated 6-episode season where they discuss. They riff on Mac and Me, Atlantic Rim, Lords of the Deep, The Daytime Ended, Killer Fish, and Ator, The Fighting Eagle. New to Blu-ray outside of the big RoboCop relaunch, Criterion is releasing Now Voyager, the love story of Charlotte Vale, a middle-aged spinstress who suffers a nervous breakdown because of her domineering mother and is finally freed after a brief love affair with Jerry, a man she meets while on a cruise after spending time in a sanitarium. A new 4K restoration of that, an episode of The Dick Cavett Show with actor Bette Davis, an interview with Paul Henreid from 1980, and some other new interviews as well. Speaking of Bette Davis, Criterion is also releasing All About Eve, which is going to be one of the films, Matt, in our Shame Marathon at the end of the year, a classic film that neither of us have seen. Includes 2 audio commentaries from 2010, All About Mankiewicz, a feature-length documentary from 1983 about the director, new interviews with costume historian Larry McQueen, and more. Scream Factory is releasing the John Badham film Dracula. This is the Frank Langella one, based off of the play where Langella actually played Dracula on the boards as well. What's interesting about this, Matt, is the original color version of this film has basically been unavailable domestically for decades. It was originally, I think, released on Laserdisc, maybe VHS, and then it was released on DVD afterwards. John Badham had always intended, Matt, to make this a black and white movie, so he desaturated the entire film, and that's been the only version that's been available on DVD or Blu-ray ever since. Well, Scream has gotten his hands on this and restored the original version. You get both versions, actually. A brand new 4K restoration from the original camera negative. You get the original color timing and the desaturated version, both on individual discs, as well as a slew of new extras, mostly interviews with different people associated with the making of the film. My mother loved this film when I was growing up. Langella was a sexy as hell Dracula. This was supposed to be more of like a romance, gothic thriller than a traditional horror film. And I am desperate to see this. Actually, I went to a local Grindhouse Video, currently having their Black November sale, with I think it's Arrow, Blue Underground, and some other, I'm blanking on what it is now, distributor or production company. He's having a massive sale right there right now. And I went to pick this up today, and they were sold out. So they're hoping to get a couple more copies in this weekend. So hopefully I'll be picking that up. Scream is releasing Prophecy. Matt, this is a legendary VHS cover movie. This is where a bunch of people go to Maine to investigate the effects of a lumber mill's poisoning of the environment. And they find that a whole bunch of the creatures have been mutated. And they run into one very large, angry, mutant bear. Includes a bunch of new features, mostly all interviews, particularly with Talia Shire of Rocky fame and Robert Foxworth. A couple other rare, unusual off-cycle releases. On November 28th, Vinegar Syndrome is releasing the Angel Collection, another classic VHS 80s cover, Matt, with the young woman. She's a 15-year-old who is best in her class in high school, but on the nights she is a prostitute on Sunset Boulevard, known simply as Angel. One of these revenge kind of thrillers. They made 3 films in this series. Angel, Avenging Angel, and Angel 3, The Final Chapter, a box set being released by Vinegar Syndrome. And on November 29th, something that really, really bothers me. Pink Floyd, The Later Years. Matt, how familiar are you with Pink Floyd's later years output?
Very, very little. I remember when the Division Bell came out in high school. I didn't get it, but I remember a lot of people really seemed to like it. But the little bit that I'd heard of it, it seemed pretty generic as far as Pink Floyd goes.
Yeah, also the Momentary Lapse of Reason, which had Learning the Fly on it, which was a pretty big hit for them. Division Bell is a better album than A Momentary Lapse of Reason. I enjoy both of those albums, but that's just because I was right in that age really, to kind of
Right.
get into them, right? Also includes The Delicate Sound of Thunder and Pulse, both of the live albums. And then The Endless River, which they released about 3-4 years ago, which is basically scraps of stuff from the Division Bell recordings that they kind of assembled into an album. Here's the thing. It includes a ton of stuff, right? You have new remasters of every album, except the Division Bell does not have a CD release. All the other albums do. That one just gets a Blu-ray release. But you get CDs, and you get Blu-rays, and you get DVDs as well, which is, I don't quite understand that. There's some other stuff, stickers and placards, cards, concert ticket replications, single duplications, all these other things. It's a massive package. But here's what's crazy. The retail price is $455. Who is paying that for this?
Boomers.
400, and I think it's retailing for about 380, 390, maybe 400.
Right.
But that is just, this is what I don't understand. Pink Floyd. They have all this cool stuff, but it's just outrageously priced because I guess they're just struggling to get by.
Maybe they're just cultivating, a very refined output.
I would buy this if it was a tenth of the price. I don't know. Maybe 150.
Yeah.
I would top out at. I just don't. It's just crazy to me.
They should have consulted you, obviously.
Clearly. And then finally, Vinegar Syndrome on Black Friday, November 29th, is releasing a legendary film, Matt. Are you familiar with Tammy and the T-Rex?
No, I'm not.
Tammy and the T-Rex is a B/C movie about a young man played by Paul Walker. His girlfriend, Denise Richards, are in love. Something horrible happens to Paul, and a crazy scientist transforms or transplants Paul Walker's brain into the body of, I think, a cloned Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Wow, that sounds fantastic.
So, and it's kind of it was originally intended to be kind of a campy horror film with some laughs, but still very scary and violent.
Yeah.
And they cut it down. They took out all the gore. So it's just kind of this weird thing. Well, Vinegar Syndrome got their hands on the original print of the film, and they are releasing the R-rated gore cut of the movie, as it's known.
Okay.
And and this is their initial offering. This is their initial 4K release. They're actually releasing it on a 4K disc. You can get a Blu-ray version, but they are going to offer a 4K version as well. And this Black Friday, they're having a gigantic sale. 50% off nearly everything. A limited edition Tammy the T-Rex Blu-ray. The Angel Collection is coming out. 2 secret limited edition Blu-rays. 2 surprise releases. A 2020 yearly package where you can actually sign up and they'll send you stuff as they release it. Brand new merch and more. So you may want to hit Vinegar Syndrome on your Black Friday if you are a cult film guy. They're going to be your go-to site, I think, that day.
All right.
Straight to DVD pick of the week, I'm going to go with Small Town Killers. 2 friends make a rash decision to hire a hitman to kill their wives. Enter Igor, a Russian contract killer who prefers taking shots to doling them out. Quickly regretting their dumb decision, the men try to call Igor off, but he won't be dissuaded. Things get even worse when their wives learn of the plot and hire their own assassins. It's a switcheroo! Now it's a race to see who will be the last man or woman standing. Matt, what should we be streaming this week?
All right. In anticipation of Martin Scorsese's latest film, The Irishman, hopefully coming out pretty soon, Gangs of New York, a film of his that's maybe less heralded, has been recently released on Netflix. It basically is about street gangs in the 1860s New York, whereas Leonardo DiCaprio plays an orphan named Amsterdam, who falls into the gang of his father's killer, Bill the Butcher, played by the fantastic Daniel Day-Lewis, who's excellent as always. It's a very interesting film. It's worth a check out if you haven't seen it. It's kind of one of Marty's deep cuts. Not something that he's usually celebrated for, but it's an interesting film.
Interesting pick. Matt, quick question. What is your favorite Pink Floyd album?
I guess I don't really have one. I mean, I guess I had Dark Side of the Moon and I had The Wall.
So you never really got into them?
Not super into them, no.
Okay.
So I guess by default, Dark Side of the Moon, I suppose. So,
Incorrect. It is animals. All right,
Animals.
let's spend a few minutes.
I think the world at large would think that you're incorrect, but I respect your conviction.
Nope, it's animals.
Okay.
The discerning fan who buys the massive box sets. All right, let's spend a few minutes talking about the last episode of Creepshow. Matt, did it go out with a bang or a whimper? Let's find out next.
From this expedition, we concluded that a high number of these large female anguilliforms were effectively trapped in the reservoir, unable to complete their breeding migration.
Anguilla what? Is it an eel?
In a way. But you'd be surprised to learn how many species there still are to be discovered on this planet. We've learned, after extensive testing, that it's an advanced form of a leech. But with one major distinction, this one doesn't drink blood. Once attached, it secretes a fluid that completely numbs the patient's skin. Then the creature painlessly uses its saliva to...
It eats fat.
To put it simply, Kelly, yes. It completely liquefies and absorbs excess adipose stored within fat cells. Nothing else is removed, of course, just fat.
Yeah, of course.
So that is a clip from the last episode of Creepshow from Shudder. Skin Crawlers, the first part of episode 6, also then backed with By the Silver Water of Lake Champlain. Matt Paul Dini co-wrote Skin Crawlers of Batman the Animated Series fame, creator of Harley Quinn. This one, Matt, is about, as you heard there, a weight loss clinic who attaches these large leech things to suck the fat out of people. But there's an eclipse coming, and for some reason that matters. And then something happens bad, and things go horribly wrong to people who use the leech fat removal
Shocking
thing.
I'm absolutely shocked. Twist.
I gotta tell you, Matt, Skin Crawlers I think is a great concept. With some lukewarm execution and some cheap effects.
Right.
But overall, a fun watch.
Yes.
Dana Gould stars in it, who I think is a very funny guy. Not given a lot to do here. Well, kind of a lukewarm, as I said, lukewarm execution, a poor script. But out of the two we saw this week, clearly the better of the two. And I think could the potential to be one of the best of the entire 6-episode run.
Sure.
I enjoyed it to a point. What did you think about Skin Crawlers?
It's not great. Like you said, I think it has a lot of potential. The concept is relatively interesting, and the comeuppance is, I guess, quote unquote fun, but it's seriously lacking in a lot of the executions that really hampers it. But that should really tell you something about on the silver banks of Lake Champlain, what that leads us into. If we said that this one is underwhelming yet still the better of the two.
By the silver water of Lake Champlain. All right. Well, first off, Matt, Skinwalkers, I gave a B-.
Yeah, I gave it a B- as well.
Okay. I like the consistency. That's what we're known for.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, something Lake Champlain. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes when there's a band, they can come up with some really great songs, right? Maybe, unfortunately, they only have 3 or 4, and they got to make an album. I can think of later Foreigner. Perhaps, dare I say, David Bowie's Let's Dance album. 3 almost perfect songs, and then a bunch of what the kids call filler. By the Silver Water of Lake Champlain is clearly filler. It is, I think, the weakest thing we've seen in this entire series. I'm watching this for 20 plus minutes wondering what is the point of this. It has the worst effects of everything we've seen. The worst script, the poorest acting, the sets, the creature design, everything. This series really goes out with a whimper for me. And I'm thinking that all this is filler. They're done filming this thing and they go, Christ, we got 20 minutes to fill. What do we do? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we were hoping that they were saving some of their budget for the end to kind of make a big splash. Whereas Obviously, that's not the case. They ran out of money way in advance. They spent it somewhere else. I'm not 100% sure where. Maybe getting Trisha Helfer.
Paul Dini.
Paul Dini, maybe. But Tom Savini cannot rescue this thing from the dregs. It's a really unfortunate way to go out on this series, and it kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth insofar as it's kind of emblematic of the whole series. I wanted it to be better than it really was, and there's a lot that just kind of brings it down.
Yeah, it almost makes me. I know they've announced a second season, but man, I don't know.
Maybe they'll cut that episode order in half and then throw some more money at each of those.
Half? There's only 6.
I know. Well, maybe 3. Well, they got to do something. The problem is Shudder doesn't have Netflix or Hulu or Amazon money, so they don't have the budget for this kind of stuff. It's a very small shoestring thing, which is okay for the most part that you would think for Creepshow, but either that or they got to do a lot better job of come pitching ideas, having more ideas and figuring out what they're going to go with from a story perspective.
Yeah, this is just a huge disappointment. I gave Lake Champlain a D.
Yeah, I gave it a D-. It's weak. It's real weak.
I just don't. It's really too bad. I was really hoping for a big blowout finale, and it's just.
Yeah.
All right. Too bad, Creepshow. We'll see what you got for season 2, though.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're pulling
watch.
for you.
Yep.
And you still have to watch. Have you seen One Cut of the Dead yet?
No, I haven't. I'm actually off next week, so I'll be able to catch up with a lot of stuff. So, because I plan on being a complete slug for the entire week of Thanksgiving.
Good for you. Well, make sure that One Cut of the Dead is part of that repertoire that you are reviewing. Let's go ahead and move on, Matt. Now, when this was launched, I was shocked and excited to hear about it, to see it. I couldn't believe that this actually got put together, and I don't think anybody really knew it was happening, right? And all of a sudden, boom, there was a couple cryptic things, and then it was here.
Right.
So let's spend a few minutes talking about the Breaking Bad coda, El Camino.
What are you doing?
Hi, yes. There's a young man in my store, and he refuses to leave.
Hey, stop.
Yeah, he might be armed.
Stop me.
Not overtly, but yes, I'm beginning to feel threatened.
Are you serious?
Sure. My name is Ed Galbraith. I own Best Quality Vacuum, 2714 4th Street, Northwest. That's correct. I would appreciate it very much if you send someone immediately.
So, Matt, we pick up with Jesse Pinkman after being freed by Walter White at the end of Breaking Bad. He is just driving like a bat out of hell to get away from his captors. And now we see everything that happens to him. We finally get a conclusion. We get closure for Jesse Pinkman's character. So that's my question for you, Matt. Should we have left well enough alone? Or was this a fitting end? Was this the closure that we needed for Breaking Bad?
I don't know if we needed closure for Breaking Bad. I mean, I thought the series itself was wrapped up in a nice bow, and it told the story that it set out to tell with Walter White and Mr. Chips becoming Scarface. But that being said, the second this thing started up, I was completely invested in it from second one. Like, I was right back into that show and that headspace. And I haven't watched Breaking Bad since since the last show aired. Like, I haven't started up another watch, but it was like it never left. And I was just completely invested and riveted by this thing. And it's great. I mean, if you like the show, you're gonna like this. And if you don't like the show, then I have to question your tastes.
So this is written and directed by Vince Gilligan, right? The showrunner, the driving force, the creative power behind the original show. I think the best show on television in history. Now, I've only seen a couple seasons of The Wire, which I think is considered one of the better shows as well. But Breaking Bad is just fantastic. And I came to it late. I don't think I popped in until season 3 or 4. And I kept hearing how good it was. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm sure it's good. I'll catch up with it. And then I watched it, and every season is better than the previous one. It gets better and better. And at the end, I was like, yeah, people are right. This is fantastic. Right. And it is. It is a great coda. It really kind of wraps things up. One criticism I've seen that maybe has too much drama and then not enough kind of action. Not so much action like a Schwarzenegger film, right? But more just kind of suspense thrills and driving, pulsing, pushing action. What do you think? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think there's like these like bursts of action, and they're very short little bursts, and then there's a long lull of tension. But I don't think that's all by design. I think this thing is. I don't think that's a criticism. I think that's intended, and
sure.
I'm on board with it because it kind of sets up the whole state of mind of Jesse and like everything that he's going on. He's like in that space of like these little flurries of activities, and it's almost like he takes a step forward and then he has to stop and hide for every step he takes in order to proceed safely. So yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't have that criticism.
Yeah, I agree. I did initially have reservations about revisiting this because, like you said, I think the show wrapped up beautifully. Mm-hmm. I didn't think maybe we needed to see this, but this is a fantastic epilogue to Breaking Bad. Chartering Jesse's attempt to kind of start a new life by these flashbacks inserts. That way also gives us the ability to bring back certain characters and still kind of weave a compelling narrative, right? And telling the story. And then how he's getting to these different points and what brought him to those points in this film. And for me, it's kind of like putting on an old comfy sweater on a brisk day. It really, like you said, you kind of you get right back into it like it never ended. Aaron Paul really shines here. I think he has to cover a lot of emotional ground, and he does it deftly. I think this may be the best performance I've seen by him. And everything still pops perfectly. Vince Gilligan knows exactly what he's doing with these characters and this world that he's built, and everything works. And if you didn't realize, too, in that clip we heard, Robert Forster. I believe this may have been one of the last, if not the last thing he did. And he is fantastic in the limited scenes that he is in. Was this needed, Matt? I don't know. But I sure am damn glad it exists.
Same.
So, any other thoughts? Do you want to give me your score?
Yeah, I gave it an A-. I think it's a film that if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, you're going to really enjoy this if you haven't seen it already. So, and if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, watch it and then catch up with this film, and you'll be very pleasantly surprised at how enjoyable it is.
I believe the series is still available on Netflix right now.
It is, yeah, it is.
And the last few seasons of of Better Call Saul, I believe those are all on Netflix too.
Right.
And they announced, I think today, that Better Call Saul is coming back in February. I think the 20th it was.
Okay.
So February of 2020, we will see the continuing adventures of Saul Goodman.
Saul Goodman, which is also fantastic in its own way.
It is. Such a great show. All right, got a chance to see El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, or just simply El Camino. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. All right, Matt, I'm taking off. I'm going to let you run things now for the gift guide. I know you're really excited. I can see you shaking your head at me right now. I know you don't like doing all the heavy lifting, but sometimes scheduling and things just unfortunately don't work out. So we're going to take a quick break, come back, and at least Matt will. I'll see everybody else next week.
Making that thing roar. You're not supposed to be awake yet. You're not supposed to be moving. Stop. Bobby, you doing this? I'm warning you. I'm a black belt. I'll make Donovan.
There's a dinosaur here.
That's it. Now you really made me mad. No!
right. Well, that was an interesting stinger that Chris left us with. Was not quite sure what that was. Well, we're going to have our holiday gift guide, and luckily Chris isn't here to kind of weigh us down. So, wait a minute. Santa. Again? I thought you said you weren't going to do any more of these.
Well, it's different. Usually I come in December, and it's just too much for me to do. I got all the stuff to do. I got to get the gifts together, get the list, check everything twice, get all the cookies, take care of Mrs. Claus, if you know what I mean. And I thought, well, what if I come in November, and then I share with all of you what all the big gifts are that all the kids are looking for this year, especially the movie fans out there, right?
Yeah, that's what the show's all about. So I think as an avid listener to the show, obviously.
Clearly. And in fact, I believe that is a clip from Tammy and the T-Rex, which is a batshit insane film. I think you're going to love it if you actually check it out. So let's spend a few minutes then, Matt. It's Matt, right? Of course I know who it is. I know you are.
I mean, you know everybody, Santa. Come on. I'm on the list somewhere.
Exactly. Oh, let's look at my list here. This is what all the movie fans are looking for this year. Why don't you start everything off for us?
Okay. So in honor of the end of the Skywalker saga and the last Star Wars movie for a while, apparently, there's a really cool Darth Vader optical illusion desk lamp. So basically, it's flashing lights that produce a 3D-looking, almost hologram vision of Darth Vader's helmet. Comes in a variety of colors that you can set. Of course, the blue is perfect because then it looks like those crappy Star Wars holograms. Available on Amazon, just like basically everything, for about $14. So it's a gift that you can't go wrong. Got an office white elephant party? This is the one.
Sounds good. Okay. I'm going to start everything off with, this one is, this is a classic. This one goes to the big guy. It's the Cup of Christ from The Last Crusade. Indiana Jones, you get it for $45 on Etsy. Wow. It actually is a replica of the chalice there. I can't remember what it's called now. I am mostly a non-religious character at this point, so... So you can get the Cup of Christ replica from the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade for $45 on Etsy. So check that out. It looks just like it. I've been drinking rum right out of this thing for months now, and it is fantastic.
Rum, not the nog? Is it too early for nog?
That's what I call the nog. It's rum. Just, don't worry about it. Keep going.
All right. So in honor of our last review on El Camino, you can get a Breaking Bad incense burner. It looks like the Fleetwood Bounder RV that they use as their roving meth lab. Obviously, you put your incense in it, and out of the vents, instead of the sweet, sweet smell of meth, you get the sweet, sweet smell of incense. So, cute little guy gift available for $29.99 on Amazon.com.
Did you say incest?
Incense.
Because that would be weird.
Frankincense and myrrh. Put your myrrh in there.
That would definitely put you on the naughty list. The number 4 most popular movie gift, from what I've been told, is the Lego Batman Batmobile from 1989. Goes on sale on November 27th, but it is a replica of the Batmobile from the Batman movie in 1989. Now, one thing I don't get is those bastards at Lego really overpriced their stuff. They want 250 smackers for this. You know how much reindeer feed that is? You would not believe it. $250.
Mm-hmm.
But you get the Lego version of the Batman. It better be the size of the goddamn Batmobile. But that's number 4. That seems to be the most popular toy that the kids have been asking for.
Interesting. I don't think a lot of kids are going to be getting that, you know?
If their parents are cheap bastards, they're not. I guess they weren't really good boys and girls, were they?
I guess not. All right.
Santa doesn't like the poorest, is what I'm saying.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, but I thought that was your whole thing. I mean, do the parents ship you? They shouldn't send you cash, throughout the year to pay for your toy giving.
No, you're misunderstanding. They don't pay me for the toys. I decide if you're worthy of a gift, and if you're poor, you clearly aren't a good person, so you don't deserve presents.
I see. Very
I don't
good.
discriminate. You don't have to pay me. I just follow the rules. Go ahead, continue.
I see. So you won't be giving any since the only reason you're not going to get the Batmobile is because your parents are cheap bastards. So that means you're not giving out any of them.
Well, yes, they're bad people. Hello. Santa's a big believer in capitalism and pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps.
Of course.
You just don't want it enough. That's all.
Yeah, that's very true. That's right. We're all just temporarily embarrassed millionaires, right? Okay. So next up for me, my suggestion, I absolutely have to have this personally, Santa. So I'll be looking forward to it under the tree. Is the Bad Movie Bible. It's basically a compendium of movies so bad they're good, and it kind of investigates just how what went wrong and why they have such enduring legacies. Samurai Cop, Showgirls, The Room, Trolls 2, all are represented in this. Available for $24.99 wherever fine books are sold.
Can I get it at the B. Dalton?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the B. Dalton because they're not fine booksellers, but you might want to check out Walden Books.
Ah, yes. Walden Books. I got nothing. Number 3 for me, then, is a Kubrick Moon Landing crew t-shirt. It's actually a t-shirt that says like, you were on the crew of when Kubrick faked the moon landing, which is a true thing. We never landed on the moon. I don't know if you know that. It's available from discountcemetery.com. It's $19, and it sounds like a winner to me. The kids seem to all love it. So if you want a piece of actual history, you can get this sweet Kubrick Moon Landing crew t-shirt. Oh, $19. That's a steal! What do you got?
So I'm going to go with another book, and I hesitated on this one just because I'd already had a book at number 3, but...
Lots of books this year, nerd!
I know, sorry. But this one is a coffee table book from the fine folks at Criterion who always have very reasonable priced items. Nothing is overpriced at all. But it's a coffee table book of their designs, and I absolutely adore their graphic design, and it's basically a giant book, giant tome that just illustrates all of the design of their films for the 34-year history. It's $200. But you know what? You're worth it.
Whoa, I think that pretentious prick, Chris, actually has that book.
Oh,
he got it for Christmas a couple years ago. And it may even have been on his list, you unoriginal bastard.
You think I keep up with Chris's lists? I don't care what that guy likes.
Fair enough. The number 2 most popular item that I've been asked for is actually a bunch of books, because Santa's a cheat. And it's going to be the Stanley Kubrick Archives for $50. A24 has their screenplay books, which run at $60 a pop. The initial run have all sold out. I think they did Moonlight and The Witch and something. And then Oscilloscope Laboratories has their Musings books. There are 2 volumes of those at $39 a piece. And what's interesting about those, from what I've been told, is that they're from writers who want to write about movies, but it wouldn't be kind of mainstream articles. There's unique perspectives on different things, and they're not restricted or censored in any way. You can pretty much, if you have a theory or something interesting, but an off-the-wall kind of unusual take, they'll let you do it. You can pick all of those up. Stanley Kubrick Archives is probably at your B. Daltons. A24 screenplay books are available on A24's website, and the Musings by Oscilloscope Laboratories is on their website as well. So there you go. More books. I bet you like that, you big nerd.
Yeah, I do. So I'm going to end this with, if you need a holiday sweater for your holiday sweater party, I think we don't call them ugly sweaters anymore, because sometimes people like their sweaters, they get a little offended. But available on Etsy. You can get a 2-for-1, and by two I mean you have 2-for-1. I mean you have to pay for both, but you should get them both. You can get a sweater of the pattern of the Overlook carpet, if to really kind of blind your coworkers, or you can get a copy of Danny's sweater of Apollo rocket with the blues and the terrible yellow stars. Both are fantastic little pieces of film history for $65 or more, depending on which one you go with at Etsy.
That's one of my favorite things to do is to quote Shelley Duvall. Dirty! Dirty! Oh, the number one that I've been told, the most popular item that the movie fans want is the Criterion Godzilla Showa era box set. It's for $180 right now. You can get it, though, as at the Barnes & Noble, their 50% off sale. And it includes all of the Showa era gods, all the classics. You got the Mothras, you got the Mecha Godzillas, you got everything. All those classic Godzilla movies in one set. It's oddly designed. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's weird. It's like a large children's book, and the movies are in sleeves, and it doesn't really fit anywhere. But it's a great set, and if you're a Godzilla fan, you're gonna love it. And that seems to be the number one most requested items for movie fans that I've been receiving this year.
Wow. That's the number one requested item from movie fans.
Don't challenge me!
Not a particular movie fan in any way.
Don't mess with me. Do you have any other things you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, if you...
I'll cut you. Sorry.
If you're nuts, if you have tons of money and you just really feel like spending it, the Infinity Saga is available in 4K. You get every MCU film released to date, all 23 of them, in fabulous 4K in a collector's case for the low price of $550, which works out to only be like $24 a movie. But still, if you need them all in 4K in one spot, there you go. It's available this Christmas.
All right, there's one other thing that I saw there's a Lighthouse gift set based on A24 from the movie The Lighthouse, and you get a remember they had that little wooden mermaid that he would kind of whack off to? I think that's
yes.
the technical term. Well, it's actually a bar of soap.
Oh.
And then there's a Wiki beard oil as well. And of course, in typical Lighthouse, well, I should say A24 fashion, it's $42. Overpriced. But still, if you want a little piece of the Lighthouse action, you can check that out there on the A24 website. Well, that was fun, Matt. Really appreciate you having me back. I always enjoy coming and talking about what the kids are doing. And what do you, if I may, what movies are you guys watching next?
Well, we're definitely going to see Won't You Be My Neighbor? And I'm going to see if I can talk Chris into going to see
I think it's called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, you moron.
All right, well, whatever. I don't know why Chris decided to pick that, since we already saw a much superior Mr. Rogers film in exchange for the big event film that's coming out in Frozen 2 that the entire world's going to go see. But he made the selections. I just work here. And obviously, I mess things up. Santa, thank you for coming by. I don't remember inviting you. So please, if you're too busy to come back next year, I understand. Don't put yourself out trying to get here. We're all good, okay? Thank you, but I thank you. I appreciate you making another stop for me here.
I'm really not sure how to take that, but all right. Well, it's always a joy, air quotes, I guess, to see you. You son of a bitch. And I just like popping in and talking about the movies and seeing what the kids want for the Christmases. So, screw you then. And I guess maybe I won't come back next year. So that. Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye. Thank God that's over. So I guess what are we watching next week? We are watching the Tom Hanks Mr. Rogers film. Blanking on his name again, even though you just said it to me.
Oh God! All right, that went a lot faster than I thought it was going to. I'm glad I was able to get.
Well,
back.
thank God you're back.
So I'll have to listen to the show and see what your gift ideas were. I'm sure they were great.
I'm sure they were.
Because I don't know what I would choose, so I'm gonna have to go off of your list. So it's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the Mr. Rogers movie, right? Reviews are pretty good, Matt. Now Frozen 2 look good too, but I haven't seen the first film. So
really?
Yeah, no, I'm the whole Let It Go thing really turned me off. I don't have a kid, so I don't.
Very good.
I had no Dark Waters looks kind of interesting. I don't know if we'll ever catch up with that. The 21 Bridges, the Chadwick Boseman film's coming out. What are we going to do? What else are we doing? We have something on the list? Are we going to do the Dolomite movie? Dolomite Is My Name? What are we doing?
We can, if you want to do that.
We'll figure that out. Nobody cares. You like to be surprised, don't you?
Yeah.
So come back next week. You can hear us talk about A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood and a lot more fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Matt, why don't we go ahead then and take an extended break. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks for doing the heavy lifting.
I'd buy that for $1.